it's all noise, right? After every halving, we tend to have this time, this transition that I call from crypto spring to start of crypto summer. We usually get this sideways chop, and it's kind of normal. But this market is hilarious because everyone loses their minds and they're like, it's all over. It's the worst thing ever. Everyone gets chopped around, trading around in stupid shit they shouldn't be doing. And then just when everybody thinks it's never going to move again, it then explodes higher. So, I've been like you, just kind of wryly observing the psychology of this space. I mean, the psychology of this space is basically like an 11-year-old.
According to CoinMarketCap, Ethereum, the native cryptocurrency of the Ethereum network, rose 30% in the previous week when the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission reversed its spot Ethereum ETF verdict. Ethereum-based spot ETFs were talked about after the SEC approved 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs in January, but analysts highlighted that the agency was not disclosing details. In various tweets, Bloomberg ETF experts James Cart and Eric Balunis, who gave the Bitcoin ETFs a 90% likelihood of approval last year, downgraded the ETF's probability from 70% to 25%. The SEC's relative sluggishness and lack of interest in ETH applications, notably compared to Bitcoin applications, led to the decision, but current chatter implies that the SEC is now more positive regarding ETF applications. Eric Balunis, senior Bloomberg ETF analyst, tweeted on Monday, "James Cert and I are upping our spot Ether ETF approval probability to 75% from 25% after hearing this afternoon that the SEC may reverse course on this extremely political subject. Everyone is frantic because they thought they'd be rejected." After the revelation, many criticized BlackRock and its powerful CEO Larry Finn for the SEC's sudden change in attitude. Eric's reply says BlackRock gets a slot Ethereum ETF if it wants one. Galaxy Digital's Alex Thorne thinks the SEC will classify staked Ethereum as a security for credibility. Galaxy Digital head of research adds that doing this will allow the agency to approve Ethereum ETFs without negating its earlier arguments against the leading altcoin in a recent discussion with Mando and ONOSF traders and co-founders of REKT Vision CEO Raoul Pal discusses his long-standing Ethereum thesis, Solana, Bitcoin.
And you ask people their deep-seated fears. Everything's going to crash, or China's going to invade Taiwan, or the Chinese currency is going to devalue, or what's happening in Japan. When you play through all of these, the outcome for all of those is more liquidity. Every single one. The only time it's not more liquidity is when the Fed are tightening, as are the other central banks, and they're purposely withdrawing liquidity. Everything else leads to more cowbell. And I just keep that in the back of my mind when everybody starts freaking out. But if China invaded Taiwan tomorrow, it would be the largest injection of liquidity in all history. Was that when you look at what happened to the commercial real estate, you look at Credit Suisse, you look at the yen, you look at the Chinese, there's one big story there, which is there's a shortage of dollars, and it just keeps moving around. And then you see Yellen going to China twice. There's a trade. She's the biggest bond salesman in the world. She's now bigger a bond salesman than Mike Milken ever was. So her job is to sell bonds. She needs to go to China and say, listen, guys, can you buy our bonds? And they're going to say, yeah, but to buy your bonds, we need some dollars because we're fucked because we've got debt deflation going on and all our property developers are in debt dollars. So somewhere within there, and they're using Japan as like the threat. Look what's happening to their currency. It's going to happen to you too. Japan actually needs dollars too. So I just think there's a dollar injection of liquidity that's coming to solve this, because if not, China doesn't buy US goods. It's that whole kind of circular world trade thing. So it's like where you are in the business cycle tends to drive that, which is the same as altcoin season. It's all the same thing. If you cast your mind back, we're all so impatient. ETH only bottomed versus Bitcoin in summer of 2020. We're not even there yet, right? We're still in May. It really started outperforming September, October, and then 2021 was the banner year. So the first part, crypto spring, is always about Bitcoin outperformance plus the new shiny kid on the block, which is Solana. So the more people get bearish about it, the more they write it off, the more I get interested in it. I don't think it outperforms Solana, so it's not going to change my position because I'm pretty much all in Solana. But I do think that it probably does better than people imagine over the next 18 months. You know, I still think we're kind of bottoming. We haven't bottomed yet, but let's see. That's my working hypothesis. I know forward, and before we know it, there's more financial assets going on to ETH because you don't get fired for using ETH, right? So let's say more financial assets, and they could be on a layer two, but it still starts to accrue value because financial assets are rapid velocity and high volumes. That narrative can switch so fast because the meme coin narrative is just a bunch of us who live in crypto land as natives. But really the thing that will drive this space is new capital into the applications layer of what this technology does. That's kind of, but I don't see it yet. Like you're saying, it's like, why bother? The answer is I don't think we know yet. We just don't know. All I do know is once you get to network adoption with some real applications, it tends to stick. So, you know, if you think of all of the other big layer ones that came out in the past, none of those go to all-time highs again because they never got the network activity really. So Solana's clearly proven product market fit. You know, it's, you know, when we abstract away everything from the space, these are businesses that are commonly owned that sell block space. That's all they do. You know, and Solana sells good block space for various use cases. ETH and Bitcoin the same. So does it become boomer or does it matter? I think we need to be careful not to impose how the space is today, which is you know, generally still retail driven and narrative driven versus use case driven, which I think will develop over time, which is like who's actually building, you know, if Disney are building their Web3 architecture on XYZ, it's going to make a difference. It's going to bring in millions more, tens of millions of wallets and tens of millions of dollars of new activity every day. We just don't know what that is yet, but it will shift around.
Still going the Ether ETFs. According to the most recent ETF update from the block, Fidelity has filed an updated S1 registration statement. This filing solves the most important question about how the SEC will handle staking, as reported by the block. Fidelity has taken out all references to staking from its updated statement, going back on its earlier decision to stake some of the fund's assets with a staking provider in order to earn staking rewards. While the SEC has always been clear on its stance on staking, some Ethereum investors are still holding out hope that other changes will be made in the future that will allow funds to stake their assets for higher gains. More will happen on this in the next 2 days, when the SEC has to decide whether to reject or accept VanEck and ARK21's applications for an Ethereum ETF. Now, let's go back to Pal's video.
Look at the cross rates of the charts, like on the weekly chart basis, and just if something is breaking out versus ETH or Bitcoin, and it's got something going on, it's very interesting, and that tends to be persistent over a cycle. So I'm looking now at what is the next big trade, because the next big trade is the Solana of the previous cycle, and it's going to be whether it's Monad, whether it's SWI, whether it's Celestia, or what. I have no fucking clue. But what I'm doing is, on my trading view, is putting all these charts versus Solana, because I ain't going to switch any money unless I can prove that it's going to outperform Solana. Like I look at the WIF Solana chart, and WIF outperforms Solana. If you put that, against Cowbell, because Janet's rebuilt the TGA. Her job is now to spend it. Normally, after she's rebuilt it from tax season, there's like a $1 billion drawdown, right? That's whoopee, considering that Powell has reduced QT enormously from 65 billion to 25 billion. So Fed net liquidity goes up. The ECB are going to cut. They've made it really clear they're going to cut as fast as possible, and the Fed will cut at some point, or at least the markets will start pricing it. Then we've got the election. We've already seen Biden talking about just, yet again giving out money. We've got the Chinese talking about buying $40 billion of housing inventory. It's like you can't ask for a better setup. You've got institutions who want to buy and liquidity coming into the system. And then you've got speculative fervor going on because of meme coins. It's like, that's a perfect supermassive black hole to suck everybody in. I think people misunderstand what drives risk taking in this. I think, and same with tech stocks and options on tech stocks and what's just happened with GameStop. It's all the same thing. It's actually the opposite. It's like things are so bad, I have no choice. You know, Americans spend 110 billion a year on lottery tickets. And I tell you, the odds, and there's a 1 in 300 million chance of the $1 billion prize, and let's say a 1 in $20 million chance of $1 million prize. Your odds at the meme coin casino, much better.
There are new chances that the SEC will approve more crypto-based spot ETFs. This will allow institutional investors to invest in the cryptocurrency market more easily. Ether's price has gone up over 21% in just 4 hours, reaching $3,783. The price of the most popular altcoin is at its highest level since March, when it hit $4,000. Bitcoin has also made big gains and is selling at multi-week highs. What do you think about the SEC's quick change of heart? Do you agree that it was all done for political reasons? If so, how do you think this will affect the cryptocurrency market in the coming days and weeks? Please leave your thoughts in comments below, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. For more videos, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell that goes off when new videos are posted. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.